Hi everyone, my name is Roshan Marajkar. I'm the University Program Assistant Director here at Mousefeld. And today we have Dalpat here from Matic. Thank you so much for being part of the event and offering to do this great workshop for us on Matic. Dalpat, I'll let you introduce yourself and get started with the workshop. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for my introduction, and I am glad that I am here. So my name is Dalpat. I am head of design at Matic Network. So I joined Matic Network before 1.5 years for making blockchain adoption easy at scale. And before that, I also actually founded my own company called Icon Scout. It was the design resource marketplace. So I was there for around 3 years, and right now is my completely focus is on making blockchain more easy to access to everybody, and I am doing that last year. So today we are going to talk about UI/UX and blockchain. So like might be many of you has heard the UI/UX term already, and blockchain is obviously like this session is about the blockchain. So like all the audience should be aware of the blockchain. So if you are not, I will go with the basic things about what blockchain is and UI/UX. So if we start, so I already talk about myself, and if you want to get me connected, I am available at Dalpat uh, username and in the Twitter, so you can reach me out there. So along with that, like let me talk about today's agenda. So for this session, as I am going to talk about basics of UI/UX and what UI/UX mean to the blockchain, and what are the best design practices to the blockchain-based applications. So before to actually jump into the session, I would just wanted to give brief about blockchain first. So blockchain is distributed technology, and if you are comparing the technology with the real world, like you can take example of the bank, where bank has the power of control everything, and it is centralized. They can control the transaction and everything, where blockchain is completely the distributed technology, so nobody has the control over it. Also, like blockchain has many advantage like the transparency, immutable, most trusted and secure using the cryptographic solution, as well as it enable cross-border transfer. So we don't need to take anybody's permission, any middleman to do the any transaction. So if we start about UX thing, so many people has heard about UX already. So let's start with what UI mean and what UX mean in design. So UI stands for user interface, where user gonna interact with the your product. So take example of any product, like you can take example of your like any the physical item itself, like we can example of the chair, and we can also take example of the digital product like the mobile apps and the website. So what part is something that user can see, user can actually interact with, that is a graphical interface, that is called UI. And for the physical product, if we can take example of the chair, so chair is an object that we can see, that is also kind of. And what about UX is user experience, is stand for. And user experience, something like whenever we use the product, so what kind of experience we get. So again, take the example of chair. So whenever we actually sit on the chair, it like it actually give us feel us actually the comfortable, and we can actually take a rest. So that kind of experience we can get from chat. So similar kind of in the digital application. So if there is a digital application for the sending money from one person to another person, so selecting contact to enter the amount and send that money to another person, and that person received our money, that is completely the experience. So UI and UX both are running in uh, actually parallelly, and both are important for the product success, and both should be work together. If one thing is missing, another will be useless. So uh, again, UI is kind of the food garnish, where we can take UX as a food taste. So if our taste of food is not good, then there is no meaning of the garnish itself. And if there is no garnish, and taste of food is good, then it will create a bad impression at the first place. Like we can't eat something looks ugly. So this is a similar. So UI and UX should be work together, and should take uh, same approach for both for the product success. So that was the basic about UX will be help, and how it can create a better experience for whatever things that we are using. There's another example, like take example of ketchup bottle. So you can consider the bottle itself kind of UI, and whenever you are going to use it, it's also kind of experience. So whenever you use the bottle, who have a cap upper side, and like many time happens like you need to uh, actually hit from the bottom to get some source. So that experience is not good as for us, because it might be hurt our hand, and it can be break the bottle sometime. Similarly, if cap is at the bottom, and if we use like just the pressing the bottle, then source will easily come. So that experience is very smooth, and it gives us pleasure to use the bottle. So this is the best example we can take in Node for understanding the UI and the UX. So in the digital product, like what are the things we consider when we talk about UI and UX? So UI, it means all the visual appearance. Like we can take, we can see like all the visual designs, like UI design, illustration design, icon designs, and then colors, graphic design, layouts, and composition, type of the typography. So that all comes in UI part. Like who are going to design the interface, he need to take care of all these things to make it more beautiful and make it more uh, like easy to capture user attention at the first uh, impression. And UX, it means like all the interaction design, like what happening when I click on something, what happening when I actually hover the mouse on something, like what kind of the information will the pop up, and complete the prototype, like complete the flow, information architecture, how information will be the divided in across all the product and all the flow, user research, and all the scenarios. So these things comes in UX. Like it should be not something like whenever our user gonna use our product and something break internally sometime, and user got something weird to the weird experience, then it will create a bad impression of our product in the user's mind. So we need to handle so much, actually many scenarios to handle edge cases and the test cases. We need to handle all the errors, like if something break, what will happen, if some information is missing, then how we will give user uh, the message about it. And we also need to work on some of the hypotheses, where the product is new, then we only have data about the product is only the hypothesis. So the user research sometime work when we have the users, But when we don't have users, then we need to work on the hypothesis to create like how our product gonna be used in the real market. So this was the basic about UI UX, and now let's move on next topic, blockchain and UI UX. So why this UI and UX is important to blockchain is something like very much like important to understand, because if you have seen many times, still in the current scenario, many people are facing issue to understanding the blockchain. So currently blockchain is in under the hood technology, and many people are actually troubling to get the real value and the power of the blockchain. So this is something that designers should work on. So also, like blockchain have clear advantage of 100% distributed system, cryptographic security, and the transparency. So UIX is very important to blockchain because we need to give easy to use and value adding solution to the blockchain product using the design thinking. So if blockchain is very hard to understand by the user, then there is problem of something like design, because design makes things simpler. If things if thing is not something like user can understand, there is sure like information is not in form of user can get information, maybe not in form of uh, it's actually the relatable to the user's understanding. So for both term blockchain and UI UX, if designer uh, started investing more time in the understanding of blockchain, because if actually designer itself doesn't understand the blockchain, like his value, like his review and all the thinking will not help to increase the use of blockchain. So first of all, designer need to understand the real value of the blockchain and the real power of the blockchain and how this technology works. So after that, if you once if you understand like how blockchain work, it's now it's time to take what approach as a designer we should take. So as per my experience, like I'm in blockchain from last 2.5 years, and actually joined the Matic network before 1.5 years. So like based on my experience, like what happening in the current industry is like we are taking blockchain as a too serious in term of design. Like we actually forgot all the scenarios and the thinking that we are using for the traditional product. So if take example of you, if you want to build a service for food delivery app, then you will get idea and you can actually design complete product in actually short actually the timeline, because there are many kind of the resource available. There are is actually easy to understand the business model itself. But so as per my understanding, I would suggest like we should use same approach for the blockchain product, because it will help to create similar experience to design the blockchain product at this level. So if you are thinking more about uh, like no, blockchain is different and we need to include this, we need to include this, then it will make product clutter. And when once product clutter, then it will be hard to understand by user, and it will be hard to like get the real value and the real use case of the product to the people. So similar, we need to reinvent the traditional approach for the design we are using for the blockchain. So if we talk about the traditional approach, first of all, like if we if our goal is about the mass adoption, then it should be something similar to the app that currently mass adopted already. Like take example of the Facebook, Twitter. There are many users, and it is very easy to use. Just create account and post actually whatever you want and something like that. In similar kind, if we use the traditional approach for the blockchain product, it will create experience similar that we just need to take care of some of concept like the private key and seed phrase and this actually the transaction post that we need to like the user should know, and all about like the distributed system. So that thing is something challenges that how we can include in our product, and there is way like many ways like we can use, and we can make product more look like the traditional product, and it will be easy for use at the end. So sometime happen like the many time happens whenever you search something about the blockchain, you will just come up with exchange kind of application and the wallet kind of application. Yeah, that is the early days of blockchain industry right now, but after some of year, like many use cases will be implemented, blockchain will be strong enough to handle the large scale transaction, and at that moment that wallet part will be just a small part in the entire product, where entire product will be completely different. So again, like why this blockchain technology disrupt actually the well different than other technology. If we take example of AR and VR, so it is a sexy technology, and it is the result is very uh, easy to understand, and people can get it in actually within 1 or 2 minutes. Same time, AI and ML is also one kind of the complex technology, and it makes things. And similar, if you take example of the blockchain, because it creates sometime uh, like again the learning of the blockchain is it's very different than this new technology that came up from last 1 decade. But the blockchain is something different, so learning curve is there, and the grasping power uh, more be needed by the user. So also at the same time we need to help user to give them proper information about the blockchain, about the technology during the product itself. So you can take example of whenever somebody is using some of application like the Facebook, and if Facebook launch the blockchain solution at that time, so Facebook can give information to the user whenever they are actually commenting someone, like comment to somebody and give the gift itself. Like take example of somebody's the birthday, and if we are commenting happy birthday in their post, so Facebook can suggest like give them gift about $5, actually the $5 or five money or five amount of any cryptocurrency. So at that time user can get some ideas about what is this and how this thing useful for the cross border transfer. So by the little this kind of the step in the traditional product, it will be help us for the mass adoption at the end. So that is the primary goal, like how we can use traditional products to make blockchain adoption easy at the scale. So let's go to the next step. Next step is about design practices, the practices to the blockchain based application. Uh, just a minute. Huh? I'm just having some water. Yeah, I'm back. So some of design practices like we can use for developing blockchain-based application. So these are actually very simple in terms of implementation in our own product, and to give some ideas to the our actually founder and CEO, like how it will help us to create the better experience at the end. So first of all, we need to understand like how we can design for the real world. So whenever like something kind of like there is some kind of wallet or something like exchanges, like there are many exchanges in the world right now. There are many mobile wallet in the world, but still adoption is not something that we are looking for. So things should be changed. Like the process that we are following is not perfect, and we need to improve that process itself. So we need to understand like how real world use different kind of product in their life, and how we can include the blockchain in that kind of product. First of all, like whenever we started designing, like keep it minimal, don't make it complex, don't make it clutter. Take care of what information is needed in that page, only keep that information. Because whenever like we need to understand the state of user's mind. So whenever user at some screen, so we need to just make a list out of what information is required to that user at that moment. So if we make clear information architecture, then it will really help us to design minimal interface. And if our information architecture is not proper, then it will at the end create some of clutter thing in our UI itself. So I have just showcase here our upcoming app of the Matic network. So this is also kind of the wallet, and we are currently implementing something new that currently like we can't disclose, but we will be it will be in upcoming version for sure. So for make it minimal, like if there is first screen where user need to send money and receive money and scan QR, so that should be the priority. All other things should not. So like we don't want to show them like what are their account balance. We have shown account balance, like we actually didn't show like what are the list of the token there. So if I have $100, like I can see like I have $100 in account. So actually, do I need to send or receive or like depend on. So currently, like again, Matic Network is the sidechain technology. So there is experience we need to improve. Like first of all, user need to the deposit that money to the Ethereum network. Then they need to deposit to the Matic network. So there is two step of depositing uh, for us. So we also try to actually solve it in the minimal way. Like you can get experience that we are going to launch this Matic new version of Matic wallet by next the 1 month for the beta. So you will get the notify using our social handler, the Matic network handler, like when we are going to launch it. And you can also ask them like what's the plan. So hello, sorry. Actually, there was some internet issue for my side. Hope like whatever I spoken last 1 minute, 1.5 minute has been okay. I'm on now. So again, to the point, like make it minimal, don't make it clutter. That's only simple thing. And again, it will be derived from the information architecture. So make proper information architecture for your flow, and add the all the detail based on it. Second, like again, example of like not make it clutter is like there is small step in every UI. Like we are asking the transaction cost for every transaction. So we just need to understand the practice of the users, like how they are using the product. So I actually take the interviews of many the crypto users, but they are never like switching this post thing. So I thought like why we put that kind of control in every transaction screen. So we can move that kind of setting in the account setting itself. Like what are the you want to the set up the transaction post for every transaction. It is low, medium, high. And if you actually really want to keep this kind of setting in the enter amount detail screen, then it should be very minimal. It should be just taking one line of space, not more than that. So again, that will be some of the visual design challenge itself. So the UI design channel, how you can follow it. So for me, like we are actually removing this kind of extra additional steps that are like adding more actually burden in that screen. Like actually user are not using it very much. So that thing will be available in the account setting of the Matic network. So if you want to change this setting to the medium cost, that will be the bottom. And also like in this kind of step, like some of AI or ML can be one. So depend on the traffic of network, we can auto scale the fees to make the transaction faster. Second is like don't showcase account address everywhere, because in the blockchain part account address is very long. Sometimes it can't fit in a small part of UI itself. So actually my suggestion is to use the username and link the account address to the username and give that username to people still. Because in the current scenario and all the traditional product, you will see like username is there and you are sending to that person, the known person, like not the random address. So the username will be really make sense. And in the blockchain part, like ENS is available for Ethereum, so you can actually use that, and you can give user option to create username for them. That will be uh, used across all the like, ENS supported application. The most part is currently missing in all like many application is the gamification. So how we can keep user motivated is something that we need to think. We need to invent some gamification method where like new user can be actually motivated and they wanted to use the blockchain based application more. So for the Matic network, we are planning to add gamification for each transaction. Like they can receive some of gift in term of token, in term of coupons, in term of anything that can be the benefit to the user. And it will be have the small investment from the business side, but it will create huge impact in term of the usability of app and active users at the end. So if we are targeting the mass adoption, we need to create more gamification method and implement in the product. So at the end, like our user can very happy to use our product to get some incentivize based on the action they are doing in the application. Yeah, this is same. So motivate users by giving rewards for more action, and it will if you are investing some amount here, it will give you long-term users for sure. So many traditional apps like all the wallet app in the fiat currency, they have this kind of the mechanism, and you can see like the digital transaction at that moment are increasing very heavily. So we can take example of the Google Pay if you have heard of that app. So Google Pay is very usable, like using the Google Pay have more active users in India. So they actually started the gamification like the nobody has, and India likes it, like it lots, and currently only Google Pay have the more active user and more actually the transaction in terms of the digital app transaction in India. So the reward based thing where this blockchain businesses should start, and they should empower user to do the daily transaction based on it. Next step is keep guiding user. Uh, as we talk about, like the blockchain is new and blockchain has larger learning curve. It will not easy to understand the blockchain. So we need to keep guiding user based on some of the complexity. But it should be not on front page, actually the front part of UI. So it should be like, we can take example like if in the Matic network, if we are transferring fund from another wallet to Matic wallet, so how they can do. So at that moment, we have just created one element like, are you new to the uh, blockchain, or you are already blockchain user? If they are new to the blockchain user, we are giving them steps to do it. So uh, it will not for every user, it only for the new user that are not understanding the blockchain. This kind of the guiding steps will be help user to understand the concept behind this, and we can also explain it in the detail, like what is this and how it work, and it will be very like good to like keep active user in our product. Otherwise user will leave if they actually don't find the solution of the problem they are currently facing. Sometimes like many steps, if you actually find that this kind of step need help tips, so just place help icon in the top of screen, and give user some of the tips like this is your first answer, then you can explain like how this circuit transfer work. Like you can take example, are you new to the blockchain, then you can explain about the blockchain there. So this kind of help tips will be very good for getting new user in the ecosystem. Next part is like how we can keep track of user pattern. So whenever some technology is new, we need to study users, like how they are using the technology, and based on that steps, like we can improve the product, and we can like the remove some of it additional thing, and we can add on something like that can be improved by the product. So in this case, like uh, if we are actually tracking the user, like how they are using the product, and what are the features they are using, and what are things that they are not using. So we can remove that part after one or two update, and we can include something more that can be helpful to enhance the user pattern that user is already following. So like I am also seeing like many companies are using uh, the doing it, and have a very good product at the end of second year of launch, and there are actually active user of that application is also increased. So if you can take example of the Coinbase wallet, so they have actually very good understanding of how the user are using the blockchain in their platform, and how they are actually removing many things that are they have added in early days, and currently they are inventing new things that can create the better experience for users. The most important part, like the private key. So private key is something like we need to give proper information to the user. Okay, so this is what, like if you lost this key and nobody can help you. And as for the traditional the use cases, like people don't want to like the remember it. Even in the many cases, people just store their actually bank account ID password to somewhere. But there is a password that user are setting up, and user can remember it easily. So in term of this, the private key is not something can user can remember. So we need to store it somewhere, and people can lose it easily. So we need to give them the better option to store key. So many apps currently using the cloud backup, like if they integrate uh, the iCloud backup in iOS and the Google Drive in Android. But that is only one. That is not only one way. There is many multiple way we can use. Some of it come with some innovative steps like add the gradient, like some of your friend, and they will have the copy of your key. And if you lost, like you can actually recover key from their device. And so there is also, like as a designer, we should think about more way to store this key where user don't need to remember it. Or also, like we need to find some of a pattern that user can give the input, like some of the decentralized another application where user can input their word or input, and that key can be converted in that password using unique encryption algorithm. And that would be again totally the distributed technology. So there will be no any the middleman. And by this way, like the limitation sometimes happen is like, for me, like I have around 4 to 5 accounts of the in the blockchain. So some of in the Ethereum and some in the Bitcoin. So it is very hard to store all the private key and keep this thing secure. But as we are the developer and the designer, we can take it in, anyhow. Like we actually don't want to store it anywhere. But as for the normal user, it is not easy. Like normal user actually don't want to remember. They just want to store it somewhere. Store it somewhere. So like, whenever they need, they can access it. So give them the better option to store key. It will be very good for user experience at the end. So these are the tips from me to keep blockchain application experience better. So I go through it again. And if you have any question, you can tweet it on my handler. So let's go through it. Yeah. So first of all, the design for real world application, make it minimal interface, don't make it clutter, based on information architecture of course, and don't ask for transaction cost for each transaction. So this kind of small element we can uh, eliminate from the UI. So we need to figure out like what we can eliminate for the UI, and we can give that option in another page in internal UI. Then use username or this kind of service like the phone number, and remove that account address part from the in the interaction between more people, and it will be easy for people to use application in the daily life. Add gamification method, invent some new uh, gamification to improve the experience, motivate user by giving different kind of the rewards to take more action, and keep guiding users at each step that they required, and keep tracking the the user pattern, like how they are use the product. So these are the some steps that you can follow in your blockchain application development, and I'm happy to help if somebody has any question and uh, if if you need some of if any help in term of the whatever application you are developing, I'm happy to like help you out there. So thank you so much for hearing me. So let's see what next step is.
Okay, thank you, Dalpat, for the Matic workshop. And you can find this workshop at Reimagine 2020 on our page. And yep, hope this is very helpful to those of you that want to build on the Matic network. Thank you.
Welcome.